Good day everyone, welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to talk about the back torso, and I'm going to do a quick breakdown that can be helpful because this is the sort of thing I do whenever I study, and I am studying the back view of the male torso essentially, or the back view of the human torso. And I'm going to do a quick breakdown. So in my previous video I did do a quick breakdown, and I did do a study essentially where I talk about the major muscles, and if you can check that video out. So in that video I talked about major shapes and of that make up the back. So we have the traps and then the lats, which are, and then the deltoid. Let me just quickly do that here. We have the traps, which sort of what the hell am I doing? The traps which sort of go like this. Uh, the traps sort of go like this, and then they come out like this around the neck, and then we have the lats, right? And then we have the deltoid. They actually make the major. These are the major shapes, of course. The external obliques. These are the major shapes that make up the back, right? And then we have smaller muscles at this scapular or shoulder region, like the rhomboid and the teres major and the teres minor and the infraspinatus muscles, which actually make up the back. So these are the major muscles that make up the back. And if you're someone that's having issues with these basic shapes, you can simply take references like this when you're studying. You could take a reference like this image, and then look at the basic shapes that make it, and then actually draw them. And then what you could do is that you could take a real life reference or shape, like if you don't understand how that would work in like because muscles, those muscles, they could look very defined in this reference I have over here, but then when you go to apply it into get a real reference, it becomes a little bit tricky because body fat percentage in people differs, and it can be quite difficult to sort of look at how that muscle would look in a real person. So I have a muscular guy over here, so it's going to be relatively easy, to be honest, but it can be hard to kind of find those definitions, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do them in different colors to make it easier. So first of all, we have our deltoid, and I'm going to put that here. We have our major reference over here. You could do this with any image. You could take any image and then do that with it. So we have our deltoid over here. Alright. What the hell, man? What am I doing? Why isn't it filling? Okay. So we have our deltoid over here. This guy. Like this. This is our deltoid. Right. The next muscle is our traps in blue. So the traps comes from the neck over here like this. As you can see, it has that diamond shape. It comes from over here like this. And it sort of has that arrow shape around here, well, around here like this. It sort of curves like this, but it can go down. Yeah. That may not be accurate or perfect, but we are going somewhere with this. Let me reduce the opacity a bit so that you can see what I'm doing. So the next thing is the lats in purple. So we're gonna go from this guy over here like this. This is our lats. Probably over here like this, right? Or is that wrong? Is that wrong? I'm learning as well too, guys. So I'm not like speaking from a pedestal. So this is also my avenue to learn, or a cheat to learn. Some people would call this area over here the erector spina muscle, but I'm just naming this entire side, this entire shape as the lat, because the erector spina is the muscle beneath it. So I'm just gonna go by that. Anyways, the next muscle, so we have our three basic shapes: the lats, the traps, the deltoid. Then we're going to move to those little shapes over there, that are a bit confusing in the back. So the first one is the rhomboid. The rhomboid, we're going to put it in brown. Is that muscle that comes from the spine over down here like this, and that is what makes up that, that shape here like this. So we're going to put that here like this, and you can see that showing on his back. The next shape is going to be the infraspinatus or infraspinatus. I'm probably butchering that name really badly. But anyways, it goes from here like this, with this our reference. I'm doing this wrong. It's looking different over here in his back. Yeah, I'm just gonna follow what I have here, the reference I have here. Yeah, I think I probably messed up with the deltoid, so I'm gonna go back. Yeah, and yes, so then the next one is the teres major, which is this guy over here. I think I'm not doing this well. I'm not doing this correctly for some reason. What I would say is that due to different positioning of the body, a lot of the times, and well, genetics. I'm just saying some bullshit. Well, genetics generally, and due to the positioning and the angle of the body, the positions of these muscles will change based on the perspective. So that is something to have in mind. So I know I'm looking a bit confused, but this study is something that can help you. And the last one is the teres minor. Remember, the teres major is overlapping the teres minor. This is not how these muscles look, right? This is not how these muscles have their own individual sort of story that is going on with them. Like just a quick internet, like look at the teres major here, right? The teres major is the one in yellow or orange. The yellow or orange. As you can see, there's sort of an overlap. Because of kind of like the lats and the rhomboid itself. The rhomboid is what's in brown, is the muscle in brown. So because of that overlap, it's not telling the full story of the teres major, and because of the trapezius muscle, it's not telling the real story of the rhomboid major, or the rhomboid itself. The rhomboid is the muscle in brown, that little triangle over there. This triangle over there, that's the rhomboid. So it's not telling the full story of the rhomboid, and because of the overlap of the infraspinatus, it's not telling the real story. Let me show you the infraspinatus, which is overlapped by the deltoid and the teres trapezius muscle. It's not telling the real story of the infraspinatus muscle itself. So what you can do is that, like, to fully understand why these muscles are these shapes, they do have their complete shape in itself. So you could look at them individually. When you could look at them individually, that's what I'm trying to say. Like just do a quick internet search and look at their real full shapes, and then you could practice those shapes if you want. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I did it for the front view of the torso to fully understand it, but for the back view I didn't do that. So from this back view now, like you could just look at this shape so that you can understand which muscle overlaps with which muscle, right? Like you can see the deltoid is overlapping the infraspinatus muscle and the teres minor itself, so it's preventing, and it's also overlapping the supraspinatus muscle, because there's a muscle, it's called the infraspinatus because of the positioning. It is below. Infra means below or beneath or inferior, and supraspinatus means above or superior or whatever. So the deltoid muscle is kind of overlapping that muscle. So when you have these basics in your head, it kind of becomes a bit more easier to. I didn't draw this. It kind of becomes a bit more easier to. Let's look at this guy over here. Okay, yeah, I didn't do this well. I'm probably messing this up. Yeah. Like this. It's probably like this, by the way. Yeah, probably like this. And then you have your. I'm probably butchering this now. What's wrong with me? Anyways, this area I'm covering in brown, or like this weird looking green color, that is where our obliques is going to be, our external obliques. And you could also see the serratus anterior in this area, but we're not really dealing with that view of the face of the human body. So with this simplified shape, you can then the next thing you could do is you could then actually draw it. You could then use this breakdown and draw the muscle, do the study and draw the muscle. And I'm going to just do that here real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Like the way I draw my torso, I said this in the previous video, is that I use this skeleton technique. I'm not necessarily aiming for resemblance here though. So I use the skeleton technique. So I have this basic shape here that's going to represent the pelvis and whatnot. And then I begin to expand on it and add more details. So that's the way I draw. Okay, so and then I break down the. Then I break down the. Then I start breaking down, like adding details. There's a muscle in the neck called the sternocleidomastoid over here, like this, that stretches from the root of the skull down to the clavicle. You can check out my video on the neck where I break it down, and then I draw the head over here. I actually do a rough sketch. I don't try to make it too detailed, because this is like a study. I do kind of want to make it look good, but I'm not sort of too focused on that sort of. And then the deltoid shape. So the main shapes right now are handled. Let me add the triceps over there. Probably not doing that the right way. Either way. All right. So we have this view. We've established the sort of basic shapes and the big shapes that make up the back. Now we're just going to look at those little shapes that actually make up the back. So following what we have here, we're going to do our infraspinatus over here like this, and then deltoid guy over here. I just want it to be a little bit cleaner so that it will be clearer for me at least. And then our rhomboid shape over here, and then we're going to have our teres major. Well, I think I messed that up. Well, I think it actually looks like this: our teres major and our teres minor, right? Right. And we have our trap shape here and our sternocleidomastoid over here, and then our head, and it's starting to look really good, I think. Right. Teres major, teres minor, infraspinatus over here, and then rhomboid. Mosquito just bit my hand, I think. Anyways, our latissimus dorsi over here. This dude over here will be our glutes. But we are not dealing with the legs now, so we can look at that later. Like this stuff over here, right? This striation, right? Some people would say like this here is the erector spinae, but the lat is overlapping it, so but you can just have it at the back of your mind. Our traps, they put our diamond shape. So that looks kind of cool. All right. yeah, so just adding this unnecessary detail. Don't really need to add it, but anyways, we've done the breakdown of the muscle, and then you could add your colors to differentiate it. Colors are the fun parts, to be honest. Let's just bring this here. So traps, the reason why you do it over and over again is because repetition is, that's what's going to keep this stuff in your memory. Like whenever this is the art's fundamentals, right? So doing it over and over again is what's going to keep it in your memory. You don't need to study it every single time, but like whenever you're studying and you want things to stick, doing these breakdowns kind of like this is, you're a bit confused on how to approach the study. Doing the study like this and breaking things down into this smallest unit is what's going to make it easier for the information to kind of digest and stick into your brain. At least for me, that's how it works. Now rhomboid in brown. Like, don't be afraid to look at how other artists do their breakdown and do their studies. Like, you could always figure out a better way to make your learning much more easier, and your assimilation of information, new information, much more easier. So whenever I go on Pinterest, I do look at breakdowns. I do save anatomical breakdowns of how artists do their own works, and it makes me better. Last one, the deltoid muscle. And this stuff doesn't have to be perfect. You learn something new every day. You may go to study and then discover a simpler way to approach this than what you started with, and then you evolve your understanding, and maybe you could discover like maybe a muscle or something, a new muscle, or a much more convenient shape on how to draw the back, or any anatomical angle in general. But for me, this is it, and that's the conclusion of this breakdown, basically. Hope it helped. You can check out my other videos on the breakdown of the back, the breakdown of the chest, the breakdown of the front also in general, the breakdown of the neck. I have an anatomy playlist. You can check it out. If this video was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 2K. And I'll see you. If you have any comments, please drop it in the comment section. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day.